That's your, kind of your calling, I guess you'd say. So, did I get it? Nope, there it is. If you would, got a few different places for you to turn to tonight. And I'm going to start in the book of Job. So if you would turn to Job. Excuse me. And I think most of you know what happened to our brother Job. You learn of the patience of Job. You learn that statement back in the New Testament. I just want you to see a few things here that he went through. And we're going to talk about worth tonight. We don't necessarily have an exact title, but worth, value, that concept. That's the idea that we want to talk about tonight. And you know that Satan came before God and basically said, well, it's like I've been going to and fro on the earth. And God's actually the one that offered Job. Said, have you considered my servant Job? That there's none like him on the earth, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. Hard word to say. And Satan starts giving all these excuses. Well, of course he's going to fear you. Of course he's going to. You blessed him. Look how much stuff he has. Look at all the family that he has. Look at all these things that he's got to do. And Satan starts kind of making excuses. And the basic idea is if you strip everything away from Job, then Job's going to curse you to your face. That's Satan's, not dilemma. That's his almost like in your face offer. And God allows him to do some things. God allows him to start taking away things in his life. Let's read just a few of those in Job chapter 1. Verse number 12. This is God speaking. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put forth not thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job, and said, the oxen were plowing, the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans fell upon them, and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. And he goes through, and verse 16 talks about the sheep, and then the camels, and then finally in verse number 18, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house. And can you imagine the servant trying to tell the dad? It's one thing to have your cattle and your sheep and the stuff. That's one thing. That would hurt. Can you imagine this next statement here? Behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the four corners of the house, fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am alone, escaped alone to tell thee. I think that's kind of how the servant would have said it. Didn't want to say it. Didn't want to tell Job that his family is dead, his sons and daughters are dead. But he had to tell him. What's Job's response here? Then Job arose and rent his mantle, shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. I've not been in that spot in my life. I don't know what I would do one way or another, but he worshipped. He took time to stop and tell God how good he is. Look at what he said here, verse 21. And said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Let's pray here. Father, I ask that you would give us the truths that we need for tonight, truths that will help us through this week, maybe through the rest of this year, maybe for years to come. But Lord, I ask that it would be your truths and not man's words or philosophies, but Lord, that you would be in and on this service, Lord, that you would meet with us. I pray, Lord, that you would just take control. Praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Turn this on here. When dealing with worth, let me get this first here. There we go. When dealing with the concept of worth, there's a few things that you can talk about, I guess you'd say. When you have the housing market as it is, wow, what's the house actually worth? For me, I'm thinking about $50,000 less than what it's went for. Worth is a lot of times value is determined by what somebody would pay for it. If you have a water shortage, then guess what you can do? You can skyrocket the price for water. What if you have a whole lot of rain? You're not going to sell the water for as much, are you? It depends on who is buying, who is selling. Sometimes you have, like on the housing market, you have the price is way too high and nobody's ever going to buy it for that price. So somebody has overvalued something. They thought, oh, well, this is going to be a good price, and it never sells. Sometimes they undervalue it and they don't get what they really could have gotten out of it. Well, let's look at some things. How does God value some things? Job, we go to our brother Job, and not only was his substance taken away, the things that he had, but also a part of him, his children, they were taken away. Let me kind of, I don't know if it's being transparent, but I'll take you back to my college days, okay? When I was in high school, never had a girlfriend. I was actually scared of girls. Very shy. I go to college, and still I was one of the hermits of the dorm. There was myself, and then Tim, and then Jeremy. And we loved serving the Lord, and we just kind of did our own thing. And then if we weren't out soul winning or on a bus route, then we were in our dorms. I actually found a way around one of the rules. One of the rules was that on whenever they had college activities, they usually had them on Friday nights. College activities where the college students were supposed to go out and mingle amongst the college students, find yourself a date and all this type of stuff. Well, I kind of thought, well, hang that. I got a nursing home. And I can change the time to Friday nights. And if the college students are having a great time on Friday nights, why don't I have the nursing home people have a great time on Friday nights? So I had a ministry on Friday nights, partially because I didn't want to be around college students, even though I was one. As time went on, I still got to keep that. That was nice. But someone along the way, and I don't know if it was a preacher or if it was one of the professors or something, I was kind of looking at this young lady and then another young lady, and it's like, I don't know, and thankfully ended up with Miss Holly here. Probably a few months before I asked her to marry me, I say a few months, it was a little longer than that, somebody said this: until you are okay with being single for the rest of your life, you won't find a wife until then. And I thought, they're being extreme. They're being, whatever. But when I got to that point, it's like, all right, Lord, I don't know who it is. I don't know if you have anybody for me, but if you want me to be single for the rest of my life, I'm willing to do that. And it really wasn't just a few weeks later, boom. We'd known each other for years, and it was kind of like I had noticed her for the first time. I don't know if you've had experience like that in your life, but that's what it was. But I had to come to grips with, if it was God, if it's just me and you, then I'm good with that. And that's where, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's where we get our value from. We should get our value from God. I'm going to go through and tell you some things that people get their value and their worth from. But remember, we should get our worth from God. Is it just God and me? I'm good with that. I've had to reiterate that a few times in my life. Sometimes it wasn't good with me, and now it is and it isn't, and all that type of stuff. But let's go through. I want you to turn to Luke chapter 15. No, Luke chapter 12. Luke chapter 12 and verse 15. Jesus is giving a parable here, getting ready to give a parable. Luke chapter 12 and verse 15, and he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater. And there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. If you're taking notes, this would be a good time to take notes. 3 things that I just thought of for the worth, and I do have a possible funny thing that I found later. Worth. How is worth? I'm from Southeast Ohio, folks, and it wasn't birthday, it was birth day. It wasn't worth, it was worth. So if I get really tired, which I am right now, then I might just mess up on that. So it's worth. Use your tongue, not your lips. All right, worth. When defining worth, some people are defined by things. That's right. Some people are defined by things. How much stuff can I get? You see it in different ways. You have little kids. I guess sometimes they start young. There's some type of show called Hoarders. And there's some kids that they learn that early in life and they don't want to get rid of anything. Why? And here's a little bit of psychology to it, but this is a big reason. They get some of their value from what they have. And if they have a bunch of stuff, then that makes them more valuable. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but I've seen it. I do a lot of observation. Not everybody is like that hoards and gets stuff. But that's a lot of it. There's some type of value that they put on this certain item or these certain items. Oh, that's what part of what makes me valuable. That's part of what makes me worth something. And when you get to the root cause of that, you take away all their stuff, and they don't think they're anybody. They don't value themselves. They value their things. Job, thankfully, and it was very unfortunate for him to lose all that stuff, but other than his family, it was mostly stuff. And the thought I have with this is, if you are defined by your things or by your stuff, what happens when it's all stripped away? When every single bit of what you own is gone, then what do you have? Hopefully, it's still you have God. Hopefully, it's still that I've got God and all this stuff didn't matter, and hopefully it's not a loss of life like Job had. But all this stuff's gone. Okay, God, it's you and me. Let's go forward with life. It hurts. You take the hurt. I think of this. over in, I believe it's in the book of Isaiah, but it talks about how Christ, it's talking about Christ there, how he set his face like a flint, like an adamant stone, like a flint. He just kept going forward. And you got this opposition of life, people throwing things at you. You got these things hitting you. That's where the sparks start hitting. Flint is where they strike the flint stone, and not the cartoon, the stone of flint, and you have the sparks coming. And if you just set your face like a flint and you just keep going forward, it's God, it's you and me, and whatever happens, happens, and you're going to get hurt. Some of that is going to hit you, and you're going to have scars. You're going to just want to hit you, and a chunk of you is gone. It hurts. But what do? You just keep moving forward. If you're defined by your things, when some of that starts getting taken away, you just stop. And you're like, oh no, all my stuff's gone. And your eyes get off of where they should be. Your eyes should be on God instead of on things. This man here, he had a lot of stuff. He said he has no room to bestow his fruits. And it's almost like he's bragging about it. In verse 19 here, in Luke chapter 12, verse 19. Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. It's almost like he's bragging on that. Comes to the second point. Excuse me. Worth, many times, is defined by things, by what you have. Other times, it's by accomplishments. It's what you've done. Now, I don't know if anybody of you were sports stars or had certain trophies and different things. Those things, I had them, but honestly didn't appeal to me. I was actually able to be captain of the football team my senior year. We had 3 captains, co-captains there. And one of the things that we got was our helmet. They buzz-sawed it in half, not with our heads in it, but they buzz-sawed it in half. And then they put it on this really nice plaque, and then they gave it to us. Well, the last time I saw it, I don't think I have it anymore. Last time I saw it, the face mask was dangling, and the wood was kind of tarnished and all this type of stuff. It was like, oh, okay. But do you know some people that they keep a trophy on their mantelpiece? When I was in high school, I had 60 touchdowns in one game. It was really just one touchdown, but over the years they've started adding a touchdown. And I accomplished this, and they look back on what they've done. They're not doing anything now. Now they're big fat slobs, lazy slob. They couldn't even run down the whole entire football field, let alone make a touchdown. But it's right here. Oh, this is what I lived for. This is my accomplishment. And that's all they have? Okay, you made how many touchdowns 40, 30 years ago? What does it matter? What are we doing now? What are we accomplishing now? Hopefully our accomplishments are more than just sports. Hopefully our accomplishments are more than just making money, which you need to make money. You need to make money to live. But are you just making money to show it off? Oh, look at this. I've got all these goods. Hey, I'll make big barns over here. You ever known people that they just want to make this great, big, huge, audacious house? I've known a couple people like that. They just want to make a big, huge house and show it off to everybody. Look what I did. Look how much money I have. And it's kind of a mixture of they have the things and they have their accomplishments. Well, what if that is taken away? There are many people, talking about sports again, but many people that they desire to be in the NFL and some type of pro sports. They don't understand that I think less than 1% of people that actually go to high school get to go to the NFL. But do you know how precarious that is? One wrong injury, that's done. You get injured in college, let's say it's your senior year, and you thought, oh, I'm going to go to the NFL, and you tear your ACL, and you can't walk right ever again. Yeah, sorry, bud, not going to the NFL. And some of those people recover from that and go on and live productive lives. Other ones, they go into deep depression. It's all they ever wanted was this accomplishment. All they ever wanted was to do this, and now it's denied them, and they become bitter. What are you putting your worth in? It's great to accomplish things, but keep the right value. Keep the right value system there. You accomplish things. How do you do that? Through the power and strength that God gives you. Through the smarts, through the physical labor, whatever it is, your accomplishments are there because God allows you to do that. Your things, God allowed you to get those things. Get the right perspective on that. I'm not going to have you turn anywhere on this one. The third thing, your worth, could also be defined by relationships. Who do you know? Who do you know? This is another thing I've seen. Oh, I know such and such, and it's really bad now. I am not on social media. I don't want to be on social media, but I know somewhat about social media. And it seems like, oh, this one's my friend, and this one's my friend. Oh, and this big person who's a popular person, that is my friend. It's like going to junior high all over again. Come on, folks. That's just silly. That's what it's like, well, you're not my friend if you're friends with him. Sorry. Don't know how I got on that. But defined by relationships. I know this person. Sometimes it is good to know people. Where I grew up, Southeast Ohio, you've got the DuPont plant. I don't know if it's by that name anymore, but if you knew someone at DuPont who worked there, you could get on. You could be there as a worker. If you didn't know anyone at DuPont, tough luck. You're not getting a job there. So sometimes it's good to know some people, but it's not good to flaunt that. Oh, I know such and such. Think of how many big name preachers pastor knows. He knows them. We had a couple of big name preachers here just for the conference. He doesn't flaunt that. He knows them. He's friends with them. He's real to them. It's not like, oh, you're such a great and wonderful person. No, he doesn't do that. He has the right perspective. That working there. He has the right perspective on who these people are and who God is. If you remember, and we've preached this and taught this throughout the years, think of Isaiah chapter 6. Isaiah chapter 6, it talks about Isaiah. He's in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Uzziah, from what I can tell, was kind of like Isaiah's maybe best friend. Maybe not best friend, but he was a good friend. Good friend. Time for a walk break. Whenever I hear a voice change, walk break. That best friend was taken away, or that good friend was taken away. He was a king. He was somebody that Isaiah looked up to. It's somebody who he could rely on. Uzziah, his name means strength of the Lord. When the strength of the Lord, or what strength you think you have there, was taken away, what do you have? You still have God himself. The relationships are not a bad thing, but are you relying on those relationships? Oh, I know such and such person, and that makes me worth something because I know this person. You know what? I know the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I know the Creator of the universe. He lives inside of me. So what does that make me worth? What does that make you worth? It's not the President of the United States or the King of a certain country. It's the King of the universe that I know. So when we get into this on defining yourself by things, by accomplishments, by relationships, all of these earthly things don't matter. They really don't. We get our worth and we derive our value from the Lord himself. Before you get too high-minded, this is just a fun fact. Okay? Fun fact, and then we're going to talk about how good God is for a few minutes. Most of you have heard in your lifetime that our body has pretty much the same chemical composition as dirt. We were made from dirt, Adam was made from dust, and our chemical composition is very close to dirt. Okay? And I looked that up, and that's right. It really is. We're really, really close to that. The percentages, like, ooh, that's kind of scary how much those percentages are close to dirt and us. Well, I just went through, and I'm not going to give you all the stats and all the things, but I went to this place, and you can look it up. It's called thought.com. And I was thinking, well, what is a person worth? If you would take all of our elements that we're made of, and you distill that down into a powder or whatever it is, what would we be worth? And I'm thinking, I was thinking certain thoughts here. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's like $1,000 or different things. Oh, maybe a few $100s, $5. This was 2016 is when I saw this. Well, it was from 2016. I'm like, $5? What are they talking about? This is what they did. They get a 150-pound person and distill all of your elements down to sellable form. You actually only get about $1 from that. They said if you want to get some more money, around $3.50, take your skin and, of course, you're gone anyway, so you're going to do weird things here. Take your skin and turn it into leather like they do for cows, and you could probably get $3.50 from it. So $4.50, maybe $5 on a good day for a 150-pound person. So before you think too highly of yourself, you're only worth about $5 if you do that. Okay. So anyway, so get the right perspective there. God doesn't look at us just with our elements and as our body. He loves us, and He has certain things that he did that makes our worth and our value go up. Don't define yourself by things. Don't define yourself by accomplishments or relationships. Define your worth by what God paid for you. He gave His blood and His life for you. What higher price can somebody give than their life? What higher price can you be worth than God's life? We honor, and I thank people, and I'm glad that we honor the veterans, the firefighters, police officers, those that gave their life in the line of duty, whatever that may be, whatever service that may be. And we should honor them. That's very, very good. But you know what? Christ's life is the ultimate worth. And if Jesus Christ was willing to give His own life for you, then think how worthy are you? You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You can do all things. As we go on here, what worth, and then this is the same thought, but just let me get to this here. Christ gave His own life for you. Well, okay, well, if that defines our worth, what is Christ's life worth? Let's go to Revelation chapter 5. Let's look at some of His accomplishments. Some of the things that He did or will do. Revelation chapter 5. And we'll start in verse 1. And I saw this, and this is future, by the way. So Revelation, that's history written in advance. That's how I like to look at prophecy. It's things that are going to happen, but in God's book they've already happened. So history written in advance. I saw in the right hand of Him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, and sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof?" And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereupon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereupon. Then enter in Jesus here, verse 5. And one of the elders saith unto me, "Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and loose the 7 seals thereof." And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, and it goes forth and tells about the praising God here. What this is, I've done some pretty good research on Revelation. My dad, he was a Sunday school teacher for years. Loved the book of Revelation. I learned a lot about it when I was a kid. And then that's always been kind of just one of my favorite books. Revelation chapter 5 is basically talking about the deed to the universe, the deed to this earth. Okay, so imagine this. Let's go back. Let's backtrack. Adam and Eve. We're going back. You with me over there, girls? Okay. All right. Back to Adam and Eve. We're going to learn about that chapel. Hold on. Sorry about that. So, Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden. Satan comes in the form of a serpent and tries to trick Eve and succeeds in tricking Eve to disobey God. At that time, you could look at Adam as the king of the world. Okay? It doesn't say those terms in the Bible, but that's how you can think of him as the king of the world. His dominion was the world. He had a kingdom, if you would. Well, what he did when the serpent, and he didn't slither, because he wasn't on his belly at that time, but when he walked over, he came over to Eve and started deceiving her. Adam was back here. Now, for years, I didn't know that. For years, I had been taught that, Eve took the apple, which it wasn't necessarily an apple. Eve took the forbidden fruit. And then she had to come all the way back over here. Hey, Adam, look what I got. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says that she took of the fruit and ate, and then she gave to her husband with her. He was right there seeing the whole thing happen. And then when I saw that, I'm like, I can't blame Eve anymore. That was Adam's fault. He's the one that didn't usurp, or not usurp, he's the one that didn't usurp his authority and say, Satan or serpent, maybe he didn't know it was Satan, get out of here. That's not what God said. You're twisting his words, you get out. That's what Adam should have done, but he didn't. So now that Adam and Eve have taken of the fruit, they've disobeyed God and basically obeyed the serpent, obeyed Satan, they now come under his dominion. Why do you think the Bible says that the God of this world, the little g God of this world is Satan, the prince of the power of the air is Satan? He is able to control forces on this earth. It's because he has power on this earth. In Revelation chapter 5, if you would, this is the deed to the earth that Satan had stolen from Adam, and Jesus is coming and claiming it back. No man was worthy to open the book. No man was worthy to look thereupon. Nobody could do anything. There's no one on the earth that could usurp Satan's authority because he's too powerful. We at one time were his children. Until we became the children of God, we were his children. There's no way we had power over Satan. Only Christ had that. So when you get down to the worth of Christ, one of the things that makes us worthy is that Christ is going to claim the whole entire universe back for himself, just like he redeemed us. He's going to redeem the earth. And the whole book of Revelation is written in all the different things that are happening, the scorching of men and the earthquakes. He's turning it back into the paradise that once was. And if you kind of get that whole thing right there, it's like all that power. All power is given unto Jesus in heaven and earth. And when you see this come to fruition, it's like, he just stole the deed from Satan. He just struck Satan down, took that deed, and says, no, not anymore. I'm taking control. You've had enough, Satan. Back in Revelation chapter 19, trying to tell you the worth of Christ. And of course, we could be here all night with that, but just a couple different things here. Revelation chapter 19. in verse number 15, Revelation 19 and verse number 15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and the wrath of Almighty God. Verse 16, and he hath on his vesture and on his thigh the name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's who we get our value from. That's who we get our worth from. It's not the things that we have. Things are not wrong. I'm not trying to tell you that. Things are not wrong. But kids, is there something that if it was taken away from you, you would just have a crying baby fit? If so, you value that more than Christ, more than God. Adults, if something was taken away from you and you had a crying baby fit, then just realize, oh, well, I must value that more than I value God at that point. You can change that, thankfully. You can change that. But what things are you attached to? What accomplishments would you like to do, or that you have done? Maybe you're holding on to those accomplishments, or you want to do certain things. Hey, if it falls in where Christ is good with that, and he's fine with that, go for it. But if that's something that becomes an idol, then make sure that you get your eyes back on Christ. Your relationships. First relationship should be with Christ. But those other relationships, are they in the view of Christ is my first priority and then everything else? Or has one of those relationships gotten higher than God? What I'm trying to tell you tonight is what you are worth is determined on what God paid for you, but how you see yourself is what you value. How are you valued? How do you value yourself? By the things, the accomplishments, the relationships, or do you derive your value from God? Let's go ahead and pray here. Your heads bowed and eyes closed. The altar is open. If anyone needs to do business with God, then you don't have to wait for the music. But there's things in my life that at times I would have said, no, I don't want you taking this away from me, God. No, and I would have thrown that fit. There might be times in the future that I'd be throwing that fit. But is there something right now you can think of? It's like, Brother Carpenter, there is something I just need to get right with God. I need to lay it down on the altar and give it over. As the music plays,